Nearly a third of all LGBTQ young persons will attempt to commit suicide, or at least seriously consider it. Despite a vast increase in the amount of LGBTQ representation in the media, and marriage equality, and feelings of general acceptance by society, we as a queer culture are still tremendously suffering. Now, I can only speak from my experience as a gay man, but perhaps this will also resonate with others in the rainbow family. My life has been an ongoing search for lasting happiness and lasting contentment. Over my years and years and years of searching in the right and sometimes wrong places, I've accumulated a really strong tool set of ways in which to start to make that a more lasting thing in my life. I've learned to cultivate ways to find genuine happiness, genuine belonging, genuine contentment. And it's still work every day. It's still stuff where sometimes I'm succeeding, sometimes I'm struggling a little bit, but at least I've found a robust tool set to help me get there. And that's what I want to share with you today. If you are a gay man, if you are a queer person, if you are whatever, hopefully this will help and speak to you in your journey and give you a couple new things perhaps to think about on your way to finding lasting joy within. So if we haven't met before, hey, I'm Kay. I'm an ecstatic life coach. And for me and for so many of the persons I coach, trying to learn to be genuinely happy is a major goal in life. Many of us go about finding happiness through instantaneous gratification, things that will, in the moment, release some endorphins, make us feel good, but it's a short sugar rush. It peaks and it dissolves and we're back where we started. An example of this might be posting a photo on Facebook or Instagram or a TikTok video and getting a lot of likes, but then 3 days later it's already been discarded and we've had to move on. People aren't even looking at that post anymore. Hell, a lot of times it's not even 3 days, it's just a few hours. Instantaneous gratification might be getting someone to hit on you on a hookup app and maybe even following through and getting to meet them, but you find that you don't have any real lasting relationships that are bringing you deep sense of joy where you're connecting on a meaningful level, that you're giving and you're receiving, that you feel like you share bits of who you really are, and that there is genuine love, support, and compassion flowing between you. So today we're going to start from the outside and work our way inside, because I think it is important that we get the more mundane aspects of our life in order to start dealing with the more rarefied. You know, if you're struggling just to get out of bed in the morning, how are you supposed to make your way to the gym, for example, right? We got to start with the basic building blocks, move from A to B to C to D, eventually hopefully to K, J, L, or however far you want to go down the alphabet. So the first thing I want to ask is, are you taking care of your physical body? And by that, are you giving it adequate food and nutrition? Are you feeding yourself well? Are you getting enough calories? Are you getting the right calories? Are you eating junk food, or are you eating fresh fruits and vegetables, ethically sourced meats, grains, like whatever your diet is? I am not here to recommend or say any diet is correct, but are you doing and eating things that nourish your body? If you find that you're subsisting entirely on like candy and popcorn and protein bars, you're probably not going to be feeling so good. So A, can you get some real food in your body? B, are you getting adequate sleep? There are some wonderful, wonderful videos out there about how important sleep is to your body. That even one night without adequate sleep can make your immune system be depressed by almost 50%. That a few nights without adequate sleep can depress your testosterone levels by like 70 or 80%. We really need a good solid 7 to 8, maybe even 9 hours. If you're younger, probably even 10 hours of sleep. And if you're not getting that, you're probably not going to be in good mental health. You're probably not going to be feeling good about your life. So are you sleeping enough? Take some naps. Go to bed early. If you can get to bed by 10 or 10:30, you will have better sleep than if you're up till midnight to 4 in the morning. Learn to notice the rhythms of the day. Learn to adjust your schedule to be most active during daylight hours, more restful during darkened hours, and you should see some really great benefits for your sense of well-being. Item C on this list when we're talking about our body is also, are you moving it every day? Are you stretching? Are you going to the gym? Are you getting some sweat on? Studies have shown that when you sweat every day, when you move and stretch your body every day, your well-being increases. So body and mind are not nearly as separate as we like to dissect them as being. They really are the same. If your body's in good health, your mind's more likely to be in good health. If your mind's in good health, your body's more likely to be in good health. So are you moving? Are you stretching? Are you taking care of your physical well-being? Again, I'm not going to advocate any right type of exercise or anything thing for you, do what makes you feel good. What do you have fun doing? What is something you can enjoy every day? For myself, I like to go lift weights about 5 to 6 days a week, do yoga pretty much every day, go for a long walk every day, and that's how I keep my body working and in good health. From there, let's start to move into some mental and more physiological things. Letter D, are you taking time to breathe every day? It might seem like a really simple thing, but a lot of us actually only breathe from here up. It induces a panic response in the body. It's going to activate your nervous system. It's going to make you feel like you're in a flight or fight response. So just simply taking some time to notice how you breathe throughout the day. Slow down and deepen your breathing, engages the parasympathetic nervous system, it stimulates the vagus nerve, it does all these things that slams the brake pedals on your sense of anxiety. And so taking some time to make sure you do some deep breathing can really help you with that. If you really struggle noticing how you breathe, there are some great tools nowadays that you can use. Like I believe there's a device you can strap into the waistband of your jeans or sweatpants and it will tell you how you're breathing throughout your day. Next on the list, letter E, I guess. Are you taking time to sit in stillness? Now, if you watch this YouTube regularly, you know I'm a huge advocate for the benefits of mindfulness, meditation, self-inquiry, silence, whatever you want to call it. Taking time daily to just be quiet. When we sit in silence daily, we start to build new neural pathways. Our brains become much more neuroplastic. We start to heal old traumas. Meditation and mindfulness has had a tremendous effect on PTSD in soldiers. People find that they are able to become more resilient, to overcome difficulties that come with change, that they're able to find greater joy in life, that they're able to see patterns and reset patterns more easily. So I'm a huge advocate. Take some time every day for sitting in stillness, ideally at least 20 minutes. Even better if you can go up to about 30. I've been doing meditation every single day since I was 18 years old, twice a day. When I lived in an ashram, I did it for 3 hours in the morning and about 1 hour at night. Now my morning's gone down to about 1 hour and my evening's about a half hour. But you can definitely do more, but you want to at least hit 20 minutes a day. Okay, I think we're on to letter F right now. This one we're starting to move into personality and ways of life. So this I want to say is, are you engaging with media that nourishes you? So for me, I'm a huge lover of books. I think books are the best thing ever. They transport you. Studies have shown that when you read a book, you actually go through the same neural processes as if you were actually living it. So a good book that you enjoy will give you genuine life experiences. You will feel what the character's feeling if it's well written, and it will help you learn and grow as a human being. I'm not as huge a fan of visual media. Yes, my husband and I probably watch an episode of a TV show in the evening, maybe a movie on the weekend, but we try to limit our engagement with that. Definitely keeping it under an hour a day. I believe the average American watches TV for 3 hours a day, which is a tremendous amount considering we don't have that many waking hours where we're not at work or commuting or taking care of functionary sort of things that we just have to get done. I would challenge you to make your engagement with visual media something you specifically seek out. Something where you're like, oh, I heard about this show. I think it really resonates with me. I've heard it's really well done. It's going to be an enriching experience. When we find ourselves just mindlessly flipping through Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus and just watching whatever's on next, it tends to leave us feel drained. So consciously choose the traditional media you interact with, and then this becomes triply so for social media. Social media definitely has its benefits. It connects us with the world. It maybe gives us information we wouldn't normally find because we connect with friends who find something. But overall, social media is a little bit toxic for our mental health. I'm sure you've seen the news recently where they've talked about Facebook burying the data that Instagram, which they own, causes mental health issues in up to 1/3 of young women. I know for myself, most of the people that Instagram recommends to me because I'm a gay dude are these really super jacked fitness models. And I feel it too. I look on there, I'm like, fuck. I'm not good enough. I don't have a body like they do. I'm not worthy. I'm insufficient. Everybody else looks this way. What the hell is wrong with me? You know, when in reality, all those dudes are juiced to the gills and are sticking needles in their butt every week. Life choices that I currently don't want to make. We get sucked into comparison. We get sucked into thinking that these people's edited and highly editorialized lives are the reality, and they're not. So social media can be very toxic. And when they rank social media apps for which have the worst effects on a person's mental health, no surprise, number 1 is Grindr. Gay men are on Grindr a lot. I believe I read that the average gay man will spend up to 6 hours a day on Grindr. And I'm sure a lot of this follows for the other apps. Hornet, Mr. Scruff, Atom for Atom, whatever else you're on. Not only are we spending a lot of time on these apps, but studies also show upwards of 60% of people say they leave the experience feeling worse than when they started. I'm just gonna give you one example of why Grindr is so bad. Leave a comment below if you've ever experienced ghosting on a hookup app. Yeah, I know I have. That experience where you're talking with somebody, you're hitting it off, things are going really great, and then poof, they just disappear. Studies have now shown that the experience of ghosting is as traumatic to your body, and not just your brain, but your actual physical health, as a physical attack. That we do not know how to handle ghosting well. We feel immense distress from the experience. And apps like Grindr set us up to have that experience over and over and over and over, potentially hundreds of times in a day. So this is my next point. Carefully monitor your consumption of media. Choose the media that supports you, perhaps like books. Limit the ones that you're consuming unconsciously, and severely look at the ones that you just get sucked down a vortex, social media wise, and notice how are they leaving you feeling. The next item on my list, and I believe we're at G at this point, is what are your social connections like? A book that I enthusiastically recommend for all individuals, gay, straight, bi, whatever, is Lost Connections by Johann Hari. In it, he goes into the reasons that we have anxiety and depression, and also how we can overcome it. One of the big points he makes is that we as a society have lost genuine social connections and a sense of community. Our connections have become more superficial, they have become more weighted in an online environment, which do not create the same experience as in an in-person environment, and that we aren't exposing ourselves vulnerably to others. We're not sharing our deep hurts, our fears, our passions. We stick to more superficial and more socially acceptable things. Are you actually spending face-to-face time with people who you feel like you're genuinely sharing, giving and receiving in equal amounts, having meaningful talks, having physical intimacy where you're touching each other, even if it's in a platonic way? How often are you experiencing that? Ideally, we should have that every single day, ideally even multiple times a day, that we could walk out our door and interact with people who would hold us in a kind, meaningful way. But studies have shown that is not the case. You can find a recent poll by YouGov about how a lot of young people don't even have a best friend, somebody that they can confide in, that if something really tragic happened in their life, they don't really know who they would call, or if something wonderful, who they'd call to celebrate with. And that's a big issue. We as human beings derive joy, derive meaning from our social interactions. We are fundamentally pack animals. We spent millions of years, evolutionarily speaking, hunting as tribes. And the most distressing thing that could happen to us was to be excommunicated from our tribe, because we'd be alone in the ice storm, dead, most likely, attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. We couldn't survive on our own. We required the companionship of others, so our brains have become hardwired for community. And this isn't just an introvert versus extrovert thing. I'm actually a pretty damn hardcore introvert, believe it or not, despite my fact of being on here and talking to you all. I like my alone time, but I still require valuable one-on-one interactions or small group interactions. The only difference between an introvert and an extrovert is somebody who derives fulfillment, joy, and energy being the key one, that your batteries are filled by large group environments, parties, social gatherings, concerts. An introvert is somebody who derives energy, joy, and meaning from alone time or small intimate settings with just one or two or three or four other people. For me, my batteries are filled by those intimate gatherings, but I still require other people. So it's something I would encourage you to take a look at. How are you doing with your relationships in person, not virtually? Are you spending time to time, flesh to flesh with somebody else? Which moves me on to GH, I don't know what letter we're something around there now, which is, are you actually spending time physically connecting with someone else? We need touch. Touch is really important, not only for our emotional health, but for our bodily health. Studies have shown that children who do not receive adequate touch after they're born develop weaker immune systems, they don't grow as fast, they don't put on weight like other babies. We need touch to be healthy. Some cultures, like Mediterranean cultures, some Latin cultures, are very touch positive, where you could see them sitting in a cafe, touching one another over the course of a conversation. We as Americans, much less so. A study done about how often do people in different cultures touch platonically, they showed that Brits and Americans only touched like 0 to 1 times over the course of a lunch, versus others where the numbers like 13, 16, 35. We are a touch-deprived society. I think a lot of people would be happier, less prone to violence, less prone to anger and road rage, oh my god, the way people drive nowadays, if they just were physically touched. So can you find some time to find someone to touch you? A friend, a lover? Maybe you even hire it with a massage or a professional cuddler or a sex worker. No discrimination there. It is considered more fulfilling, neurologically speaking, when you're able to give and receive that the other party is benefiting, but any touch is considered good touch, so find it wherever you can. Next letter is moving on to meaningful work, that you feel like you're contributing to the world in some way, that you're living for something beyond just yourself. If every day you wake up, it's just about me, myself, and I, we're not going to be feeling very happy. Again, we are social creatures, we are hardwired for connection, and when we feel like we're contributing to society in a meaningful way, we are happier. Now, this doesn't mean you need to go join a Greenpeace or join some sort of Antarctic adventure. Maybe it's you care for a family member, a loved one, maybe even just a dog, I guess another sentient creature that you feel has emotions and needs well-being. Maybe it's an art project, maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's giving back in some way, joining a charity. How can you do something that isn't just about you? How can you create a life that is of service to something other than your own gratification? And then I'm going to get to the last item on my list today. And this one is applicable to anybody, but especially those in the LGBTQ community. And that's, you have to do your work to heal your shit. All of us who grew up as queer, gay, trans, experienced a level of trauma around that. Even if we were in an inclusive and supportive family and environment, which I hoped you were, we still at a very young age, before we could name it, knew that we were different. And again, going back to that pack mentality, to be different is dangerous. If we are different, we might be excommunicated from the group. And that feeling of difference creates a tremendous amount of psychological distress, even from a very young age, because we understand, oh, I'm not like those little boys over there. I'm not as rough and tumble. I'm not as aggressive. I'm not doing things like they're doing. What's wrong with me? And so we have a history of fear, of being dangerous, of being different, of being excommunicated from the social tribe because of our gender identity, our sexuality, our sexual identity, any of that. And that means you've got trauma to heal. You've got shit you've got to work through. So are you putting in the time to work with a healer of some kind, a therapist, a shaman, a coach? Are you taking time to, again, go back to that idea of sitting with yourself, listening to yourself, being in quiet, knowing what's really going on for you, acknowledging your feelings, acknowledging your emotions, developing good emotional hygiene to say, I am feeling XYZ. I am not getting my needs met and I need XYZ to be able to thrive. Can you be honest about where you are and then do the work to heal and grow? So that's it. That's my list as how to be happy as a queer person, as a gay man, as a trans individual, but specifically from my point of view as a gay man. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I don't succeed in doing all of this every day. I know what I need to do, so it helps me move to that direction, but there's still days where I feel like shit. There's still days where I'm failing at some of these things, and that's okay. That's part of being human. As we learn, we grow, we evolve, and we're not seeking perfection. We're just seeking to do pretty darn well. Now, of course, if you have extenuating circumstances going on outside of this, things that are unusually challenging that you need to deal with, then yeah, that might be a part of why you're struggling to find happiness. We all have our own private struggles. But there is maybe one final thing that I will add, and take it or leave it, and that's gratitude. No matter where you are, no matter what body you have, no matter who you find yourself surrounded by, there is something to be grateful for. And when we focus on the gratitude, when we focus on the things that make our lives feel blessed, feel joyful, our brain starts to seek out other things that will reinforce that feeling. We are habit-driven people. We love pattern recognition. Our brain tries to figure things out all the time. So if we start to focus on something, our brain is going to try and develop that as a pattern. It's going to try and seek out ways to reinforce that. So if you are consciously exploring the emotion of gratitude on a daily basis, you will start to find more things to be grateful for. You'll start to feel more blessed, and with that blessing comes joy. So there you go. That's my list. I would love for you to leave a comment. Let me know how this speaks to you, how, if any of this is new for you or just a good reminder, what you're implementing that brings you joy. I invite you to work on the physical, work on the energetic, work on the mental, work on your breath, work on your behavior. Because when we look at the way that a lot of gay men live, which is in direct comparison with other people, never feeling good enough, trying to prove their worth through cars and money and sexual partners and ecstatic experiences through drugs or travel, we realize that those are fleeting. They're never going to make us lastingly happy. And with the amount of mental health issues in the gay community, we all need to put some work in this direction. There's nothing wrong at all with going out and celebrating your life. There's nothing wrong with having sex with people you find attractive. There's nothing wrong with going out and having a great celebratory experience at a party or on a dance floor. But if those things aren't making you lastingly happy, if you keep coming back to that same sense of malaise or listlessness or not feeling good enough, then we need to go into deeper work. And I hope some of these tips and tricks in this video helped you today. If you feel like this is the work you're meant to be exploring, then think about reaching out to somebody who might be a therapist, a coach, a guide, a shaman, a spiritual advisor. And if you think this is of value, please do share it with somebody else, because again, all of us in this community struggle. All of us deal with feelings of unworthiness, of not being good enough. And hopefully some of the things here today will help you on your journey to wholeness, belonging, and wellness. And one really easy to access and great resource is our new Patreon group, patreon.com/ecstatic self, where we go into practices of mindfulness, well-being, queer spirituality, and sexuality, and see how we can all take those to the next level. I spend most of my week working with men and gender diverse people and a few women on these topics about how to come home to yourself and how to live an enthusiastically brilliant life through these practices. I'm Kay. This is Ecstatic Self. Thank you so much for your time and energy and focus. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Many blessings.